I guess I'll say I'm Akshay. I'm a rising senior, and I'm in IB, and that's all I want to share. You guys can go.
Okay, so I'm Eileen, and I just graduated high school. So, and I was a full IB diploma candidate. So,
Yeah. Hello, I'm Alex. I was also a full IB diploma candidate. Still question mark on candidate because I still don't know if I got the diploma. But but
4 days.
yeah,
4 days.
yeah, 4 days. In 4 days, we'll know.
4 days.
So yeah, I think 4 days, something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a wild ride.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, it's my turn. All right. My name
Yeah.
is Rourke Chow. It's also full IB diploma candidate and also just graduated. That's pretty much all there is to know about me.
My turn?
Yeah, go for it, Joe.
Okay. Hi, my name is Dan Lynn, and I also just graduated high school, and I also am a full IB diploma candidate.
So IB taught you guys to reflect. So I just want to do this per the I thought of this. So since IB taught you guys how to reflect, this whole meeting's gonna be like a huge reflection of IB. So what were your HOs and SOs, and why'd you pick those classes? Oh, and at Claremont High School, history and English were mandatory HOs. So why was your one HO and your other three SOs?
I guess I'll start. So yeah, obviously we have the English HL and then the history HL. For my third HL, I did physics, which I kind of regret because for my SL, I did math SL. And if I looking back on it now, knowing how much I like math, I would probably want to switch my math SL to become a math HL. But yeah, so I took physics HL as my optional HL and then math SL junior year, psychology SL senior year, and French SL senior year.
Yeah, I mean, I could go next. So I also HL'd in a science. So I did bio, and I chose that because there were a very select few HLs, and that was the one that was most interesting. But I really did like the class. And as for my SLs, I also did psychology and math, but I took Spanish. So yeah, I chose those mainly because I chose psych because it was the one of the ones that I could choose, but math and Spanish were again a language requirement and math requirement. So
For my HLs, I chose math and physics, so I did 4 HLs, and then I did 2 SLs, which were Spanish and comp sci. They mainly aligned with my interests, so that's kind of how I decided which ones go where. And then Spanish was in there because of the language requirement. So.
My HLs, besides English and HODA, is bio, and my SLs were French, math, and physics. Wait, no, not physics, psych.
Psych.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, completely erasing your year out of my mind.
It's only like a month too, but okay.
It's all a blur. I don't even know anymore.
I mean, to be honest, we were on break for 3 months, 4 months. So.
Yeah, it started way back in March.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the second question, if you could tell your sophomore self any advice, what would it be? And would you recommend IB to your sophomore self? Why or why not?
I would Oh, that's a hard one for me. I guess I would, if I told my sophomore self to do IB, I would say do math HL instead of the physics HL because I would have had more fun. I don't know if I would still say to do IB though. Like that's the thing. I love the teachers I had in IB. I loved all of my teachers. I loved the things I learned. But like looking back on it, I'm not sure if IB was like the perfect route for me. You know, especially because looking at the college credits I'll get from it, I don't really think it was necessarily worth it for me. So I think something that a lot of sophomores should consider is like what colleges they're aiming for, whether those colleges will take IB credits, and whether like IB is actually going to be beneficial to you like in the long run. Because as much as I enjoyed my teachers and as much as I like the subjects in IB, I'm not sure that for me it was necessarily the best thing. So I feel like I'm more iffy on whether or not I would tell my sophomore year self to do IB.
Yeah, I would definitely like agree to some of that. Like I would say to my sophomore self to like consider what it would mean to take IB, like time managing, like IB as well as other things that I have. So like one thing for me that I would say like to my sophomore self is not to overwork myself or let others influence like whether or not I take IB. So like it would just be more like whether or not IB like suits the kind of education or like environment that I want to be in, especially in college. So for me, like I still think that like IB was a good experience to like prepare me for college, but like whether or not the stress or the time that it took to like get everything done while also balancing my own life was necessarily worth it.
I would probably just tell myself to go with IB actually, mainly because honestly, my interpretation of the IAs and the EE probably aren't necessarily the most normal interpretations, as in like I actually enjoy those because I could apply what I learned in class as something that was, more interesting than just, hey, here's a test, do the test. So that's kind of why I preferred IB over AP. And if I had like any advice, probably just choose some more interesting IA topics than like rolling a Bakugan down a ramp. So yeah.
In terms of choosing whether or not to do full IB, I probably wouldn't have chosen to do it mainly because I wasn't, or mainly because I'm not receiving the credits that I thought I would receive for the classes that I took. But I think taking IB classes is something that I would recommend because I did learn a lot through those classes, like how to think instead of what to think, like most AP classes. So maybe if I were a sophomore again, I'd probably take a combination of AP and IB classes. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with what Dow said. Like, definitely think about the option of doing AP as well as IB because IB offers a lot of really cool stuff. But like, I think the thing that me, Eileen, and Dow are all kind of like iffy on is first of all credits because your SLs usually don't receive credits. It's only your HLs, and you usually need like pretty high thresholds on HLs to get it. So it's like if you have a particular class you enjoy or you want to take like HODA or English, I would totally go for IB. Like there's no shame in doing half IB, half AP.
Yeah. I mean, going off of what Rourke said, I would definitely agree with the writing portion, like the IA and the EE, or the IAs and the EE, because I think that I feel like I mentally prepared for that part more, which is something that AP doesn't have or any other classes have. And like the topics that I did choose were enjoyable for me, but it was more so like a tax on the time that I had, like with everything else.
Just to like a side note, would you guys recommend dual enrollment? Like, do you guys have any experience with that? Dual enrollment?
Actually, I do have experience with that. But depends on the class you're taking. I wouldn't say do physics HO and take like a physics course at like college nearby. It's not really the best option, in my opinion. If you're doing like, say, I don't know, something like mathematics, I can see that happening. If you're doing something like art or another kind of general ed requirement, say English or I guess like a history course, yeah, go for it. But if you're doing like a more specifically major tailored class, like for instance physics or biology, not necessarily the best course of action because of the time commitment it'll take, as opposed to like an art class.
Yeah. And also like another thing is that a lot of colleges have placement tests for a lot of stuff involving like math or like foreign language. So even if you do like AP like level stuff, or you take like a college level college class or like a college level math class, a lot of colleges are still going to require you to either like take a placement test or like talk to you individually. So that's like another thing to keep in mind too.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you guys. So what was your favorite part of IB?
For me, it was, oh, you can go, Eileen.
Oh, well, I was just going to go off of what Alex said earlier about how supportive the teachers were and like the personal connection you can make with the teachers, especially since the classes are typically smaller, since there are fewer kids who take IB as opposed to AP. And yeah, I mean, all my teachers got to know me. And yeah, especially my bio teacher and my English teachers. So I would say it's like supportive from like the teacher's point of view, or like even being mentored with the EE or your IAs.
100% agree with that. Like for me, my favorite part of it was just the teachers. I love like the connection you make with your teachers in IB. And I think part of that is because like, whereas a lot of AP teachers just prepare you for the test, since IB has IAs and like internal assessments, you get to actually work more one-on-one with teachers a lot of the time to help support you through that, which means you get close to them. Like Eileen said, my English teacher, both English teachers I had, Mr. Val and Mr. Glavin, I had Mr. Thomas for 2 years, which was great because getting to know him for like 1 year and another year is like a great connection. Same thing with like the EE, having an advisor there is just, it's really nice. So it's like great how supportive like IB teachers are, and like Mrs. Sieg will literally do whatever it takes to get you support or any type of help. If that means like going into her office during like office hours or lunch, like she's totally down for it as long as it helps you. So that was my favorite part too.
My favorite part was actually kind of similar, but I would say it's just more so the amount of interaction you're expected to have with your fellow students and also your academic advisors, right? Like through CAS, for instance, the CAS project, you're supposed to work with in a group of people, and you can kind of justify doing things that you might not normally be able to fit into your schedule. Like, for instance, I guess having something like this going on, right? Where you're forced to interact with other people, but in a way that you actually enjoy and is academically supported by IB. So I just like how IB allows you to explore your interests while also giving you some academic relation between the two.
As for me, I really do appreciate the fact that we get to spend so much time with not only our teachers, but our fellow students as well. Because for both years, I've had the same classes with so many of my friends, or with students who've become like one of my closest friends now. So I think taking IB really gives you like a chance to develop friendships over the years, and that's what I really appreciate the most.
Yeah, hopping on that for a second, like what Dow said is so true. It's like if the thing with IB is that if you actually make use of like connecting with people, making friends, and like using like the EECAS IAs as like fun ways of doing stuff, it's actually like not that bad at all. Like I loved my CAS project. I had a lot of fun with it. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. And then similarly with like the psychology IA, since it's like a group experiment. So there's like a lot of really good moments for you to have strong interactions with your friends in IB, as opposed to like the AP classes I took where there weren't really that many like one-on-one interactions. There was just a lot of lecture and not much else. So that's definitely a big pro of IB.
On the polar opposite of that, what was your lowest point while you were in IB, and how did you overcome it?
College app season for me. Like September, October, November for me were just, it was the absolute worst because you had college apps, and then you also had like by this point you should have also been finalizing a lot of CAS stuff. You also have the EE to worry about. The HODA IA is the problem. You're thinking about the written assignment for English. You have to prepare for the IOC for English. Like, and that's span of time, there's so much stuff, and that's on top of like your extracurriculars and the tests you already have for classes. So like that time period of senior year is just, there's so much stuff in it that you have to take care of. And if you don't balance things correctly, which is really hard to do because there's so much, like you will crash and burn real fast. That was just the low point from there.
Yeah, I could definitely attest to that, all of it, except I would probably say Alex said that September, October, November were the months that were most stressful. But for me, it was probably December, because that was when I started my college app, since like most of where I was applying to were private schools, and that's like the deadlines were later. So December was like when I started my college app, and then that's when I had a history IA along with the English IOC and submitting the EE, and on top of like keeping up with all the tests that I had in my classes, which all seemed to be in the month of December. And I took the SAT my senior year, so that was like even more stressful for me. And even though I told myself I could balance all of that like beforehand, it just seemed, like Alex said, to hit me like a truck. So yeah, that was probably my lowest point, like first semester of senior year, just balancing everything. But after a while I just realized that I need to let some things go, and that like it's okay to make mistakes, and that we all grow from them.
I feel like my lowest point in IB was probably like actually last May, because I made a big boo-boo with some AFE tests going on there, and there were a few exams, just a few too many, and it was not a good time. Although I gotta say it was kind of nice to miss class, but that's besides the point. Yeah, I don't know. I basically just have a pretty loaded schedule for about 3 weeks, so just test pretty much every day. So I don't know how I really overcame it per se. It was just more so like, okay, time progressed. I had to plan out to study accordingly. So let's say, for instance, I had a test the following Monday. So I did my last review pretty much the week before that. So it was like constant study. I get back home, study, go to sleep, all that. So that's kind of probably the most difficult week for me personally. The most difficult time in IB, sorry.
For me, the lowest point of IB for me was probably fall of senior year, and it was because fall is marching band season. So I spent a lot of my time after school practicing and doing all like IB stuff, all my academic stuff on top of that, including my clubs as well. And I don't think that I was ready for it, because I think everyone going into IB always has this kind of mindset that they'll balance everything. Like they can handle it. But once it hits you in the face, like it just hits you so hard, and you don't even realize it until you're about to crash and burn. But I think what really helped was the fact that band season finally ended. And then once I had so much time on my hands, I was able to handle everything else, all of the clubs, activities that I was in, all of the tests, homework, assignments from my classes. And once band season was over, I think that was the kind of like the marker that I got through the toughest part of IB.
Yeah, I think that happens to everyone. Like we all think that we can handle it because we're IB, but then like there's no, like, it's funny because you go from like summer where there's nothing happening, and then like depending on your college application season, like if you're doing early action stuff, it happens earlier. But like Eileen said, if you apply like a little bit later, it happens in December where it's really, really bad. So like it can it usually goes like this and then just goes off. And then everyone just gets so stressed out. So like plan to make sure that you're not like, once you're ready to go into like fall of senior year, expect to be overwhelmed for a hot second and then try to recover from that, because it's really easy to keep on slipping if you don't catch yourself.
Can't wait for college apps.
Good luck with that.
Thanks.
That's a you problem, Akshay.
You guys already done with that? By the way, I have a limit on this meeting, like a time thing, because I didn't pay for Zoom, so it might just end sometime soon. I don't know when. But my next question is, what'd you write your extended essay on, and what struggles did you face when you wrote your extended essay, and how did you overcome that? It's a long time ago.
Like, just going through it quickly since like time limits. I had a crazy time with my EE. My first topic was now it includes unlimited minutes.
Oh, whoa. Wait, okay, cool.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know. Okay, sure.
Brooke, did you hack something?
I don't know what happened.
Okay. So Rourke might be a hacker.
I like how he tilted his webcam.
Yeah, I love that. Rourke hacked Zoom. Yeah, my EE was a wild ride. Everyone makes fun of me for it. Mr. Easton made fun of me for it. My original topic was about German relations, like Hungarian and German like reactions to like the Syrian refugee crisis. And I liked my topic a lot, except for the fact that I couldn't read Hungarian, and a lot of my original sources were in Hungarian. So I had to change my topic. And then I had like a mental breakdown like in December, because mental breakdowns happen in December. And I wanted to change my topic to figure skating. And I still think my topic would have been incredible if Mr. Easton had given me the go, but he didn't let me do that, which was sad. So I ended up doing an EE on a global politics EE on China's Belt and Road Initiative, which was hard because I didn't know a lot about economics, and it talks a lot about economics. But it was still a lot of fun because, as Eileen said earlier, you get like a lot of help from your advisors. And I had Miss Bodner, who teaches AP Gov and is just like an incredible teacher in person. So she was really helpful. So it was overall like a pretty good process. Just make sure you use your advisor's knowledge because it can definitely help you.
Yeah. So I'll go next with what my EE was, but so I did my EE on the societal marginalization of women in the literary text Handmaid's Tale and Woman at Point Zero. So we read Woman at Point Zero our junior year in IB English, and I read Handmaid's Tale in the summer before school started, like my senior year. So I feel like I had a good handle on like time management for the EE. But I would say like the only thing I would say that was a struggle for the EE was getting feedback from my advisor. And my advisor is actually an English teacher, and doing an English EE, I thought he was like been a lot more specific. I'm not gonna name any names, but he was very supportive, and like I really liked that. He was like really diligent with like meetings and just like making sure I was on track. But as for like getting feedback and like seeing what I could improve on, it was kind of hard. But like, yeah, he was pretty chill. So I would say overall it wasn't as bad as I thought because I had mentally prepared for it. And as for the topic, I actually like writing it because it's something that connects with me and like my identity as a woman of color.
I wrote mine on a physics subject, so it was like a new plastic alternative material I was looking into. It was kind of difficult because it's a new material. So the way it worked, right, was that for my EE, I was given some like certain properties to test for, and that's kind of what I did. So it was kind of like a culmination of basically like 7 or so IAs really into different parts of the material. And I think the most difficult part of it was just figuring out how to create some of the molds necessary for the test. Like for instance, I was doing like a puncture test, and that was kind of difficult because the thing was never really truly flat. So whenever I was measuring the indent, it was always going to be slightly off the actual indent, which causes my results to be skewed. So I overcame that by making a second version of the material that was a bit more flexible. But I think it compromised the structure of it. But yeah.
I honestly forgot the details of my EE, but I wrote it on biology, either biology or ecology. I don't know what subject it's in, but it was about BT corn. It's the pollen of BT corn and its effects on monarch butterflies. And before, it took me a while to actually develop my topic and my research question. And I don't think I actually had a research question until senior year started, because I honestly had no idea what I was doing during the summer, because I thought I did, but in actuality, I didn't. I had no clue. But I think reaching out to my advisor and actually asking for help was a good decision on my part, because if you don't ask for help when you have no clue what you're doing, then there's no way that you could write a good EE. So I think that asking for help and really reaching out is something that you should do if you find yourself stuck or have nowhere to go.
Yeah, that's so important, like reaching out. Like, it's okay if you have no clue what you're doing with your EE. Like, the research question is, I think, usually a really hard part for a lot of people, depending on the type of EE they're doing. So, like, mine was global politics, and I really had a hard time formulating that, because since it's like international relations, it can be super broad, but you only have like 4,000 words. And that may sound like a lot of words, but it's actually not that many words if you have like a lot of stuff that you're trying to explain or analyze. So if you have questions or you feel like you're lost, like, ask your advisor. I was dumb and I didn't talk to my advisor until like December of senior year. And that was like past when we were supposed to submit it. And then I kept ghosting Mr. Easton. So don't do what I did. That was a bad idea. Ghosting is also the term Easton uses, so I'm going to go ahead with it. So yeah, don't pull in a Barca.
I mean, like, that's like not the worst of what I've heard. Some people didn't even know who their advisors were. But yeah, just know, like, that it's important to contact your advisor.
Yeah.
One thing to add is that before you go off to summer break, before going off to summer break before senior year, you should contact your advisor, get all of their contact information, so that way you could use that, or that way you have that information over the summer and you could get in contact with them in case you need help or anything. And I think at that point, you don't really have to have a research question ready, just kind of have an interest of what you want to write about, because it's a lot. There are a lot of choices that you could choose from. So I think asking your advisor first would be a good step towards writing your PE.
Yeah, and honestly, like Dow said, don't even have a question in mind, being honest. Just like go to Honnold, do some research, go online, do some research, and like honestly, like once you like compile some amount of research, think to yourself like, is this a viable route? Does this actually make sense? Because my problem is that like I tried to have like a question right from the get-go, and I was so stuck on that by the time I realized that my original question was not, it just wasn't a possible EE. It would be an interesting EE, but it's not a possible EE. That's when I got stuck on my roadblock. So just do some researching, have like an open mind, and like formulate your question as you go. And then once you feel like you're at a comfortable place with your essay, then be like, this is what I want my actual like exact question to be, and then finish it from there. That's like how I think like I did it. And I think that helps a bit more than just like scrambling for a question.
Yeah, like I second both of all of what was said. Like for me, I just had like I knew I wanted to do something along human rights or like, I don't know, social justice, I guess, like something with that. Okay, it was pretty broad, and then from that I narrowed it down to certain topics, like, you know, certain marginalized groups, and then from there, like I researched more on that, and like which topic seemed most interesting, and from there, that's how I developed my question, like Alex said, and like what Dow said.
Oh, I have another piece of advice. I think the easiest EE you could ever do is some sort of experiment, because once you do an experiment, you know exactly what you're doing. You know your independent and dependent variables, you know your factors, and I think that would probably be the most easiest EE you could ever do, mainly because you know what you're looking for, or you know how to set up everything, and you know what you're talking about. So doing an experiment would be the most easiest thing you could do for an EE.
Yeah. Be careful of the social science EEs, because those can get messy real fast with the amount of like research you have to do and the amount of analyzing you have to do. So even though like the history E is the most popular EE, it's actually a really hard style of EE because you have so much analyzing to do from historical documents. And even though it's like the most popular one because everyone takes HOTA, everyone has this basic knowledge of history, the depth you have to go into in a history is really hard. Same with like the psychology E or even like a global politics EE. If you want like high marks on any of those CEs, you need a lot of sources, a lot of analysis, and like a lot of original ideas, which can be difficult to fit within the word count and also avoid repetition. So like what Dow said with like experiments, so true. I feel like an experiment EE is like a lot more straightforward once you get going.
Yeah, I mean the mark bands for history EEs and like EEs that are pretty popular are pretty like more like they're harder to get like marks because it'll be so it'll be so much like everyone else's. So yeah, like definitely take that into consideration, but that shouldn't like stop someone if they really like a particular subject or really want to like study something like in history or the social sciences, because I feel like if you actually like your EE topic or like find some sort of interest in it or curiosity, you're more likely to do better than like something that you don't like. So that's also another thing.
Yeah, don't do, and it also goes for the IAs too. Don't do stuff in IAs or EEs because it sounds easy. Do what you like doing and do what you feel comfortable doing.
Yeah. Well, I just have a personal question then. So I'm stuck on choosing a subject on my EE still. Like I have ideas on every single subject, like film, history, math, even biology and physics. How'd you guys pick how'd you guys pick your subject?
I did interest. I really liked the idea of international relations. I want to go into IR. So for me, global politics just made sense.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just chose the topic because I'm really interested in humanities and like the implications of how that is like seen or like applied in the real world. Like, I guess with any subject that's true, but like seeing or reading the experiences and analyzing like what that means for marginalized groups as a whole was interesting for me, especially since that's what I wanted to do in college, like something with that. So like your ideas with history and film, like I would like I read a little bit of like sample EEs for film, like when I was looking at English EEs, and like there's not a lot of EEs on that, so I would definitely like encourage you to look more into that, especially since like there are a lot of history EEs or what else did you mention?
History, math, global politics, film, biology, and physics.
Yeah, all of those are really interesting, but yeah, like one factor that like made me choose English and like that particular topic was also because it didn't seem like there were a lot of English like EEs. Like there were probably 3 out of like 60 students who chose an English EE in my class. So just something to consider as well, but yeah, all interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Like for me, global politics, I think only had 3 people in it too. And 2 of us had Miss Bodner, the other one had Mr. Easton. So it was like really cool because like since Miss Bodner was literally only working with 2 of us, that meant that we had a lot of time to talk to her.
For me, it was also because of interest, because I really like biology and I wanted to do an E in biology. But for actually the situation that you're facing, I did also encounter that same problem a few months back while choosing what to write for my English comparative essay. And what I did was write out all of my options and the possible topics. So what you could do is write out all of your subjects on like a piece of paper and write down the possible topics that you could research for each of those subjects. And what you could do is find articles for each of those topics, scholarly articles, of course, and maybe opinion pieces if it's relevant. And you could find articles and research papers and try to find some that are open-minded, but also kind of opposing each other. That way they have like say for your history one, if there are articles with opposing opinions, that could really that could be used as a really strong source because you have different perspectives going on, which would give you a lot of points for your EE when they're graded and stuff. So I think for you, the best option would be to really explore all of your options and see which ones have powerful and very supportive resources for you to use in your EE.
Thank you. Well, that wasn't really an interview question. That was just a personal question. So, yeah, okay. Yeah. So, moving on to my next question is, how did you prepare for the IB test, and would you have prepared differently if you were given like the opportunity?
We didn't take the IB test.
Oh yeah.
We took like one IB test, or maybe two.
Yeah.
Maybe two.
One or two.
IB tests.
SL test only, man.
Yeah.
I would say like
yeah.
I would say like from the test that, because I think did all of us take math SL? Not Rourke obviously, but Dow, you took it too last year, right?
Yeah, Rourke did.
Rourke did.
I took the
Wait,
SL test and then
what
I changed
happened?
to HL after because I was like, I'll do HL. So here I am.
Okay. Like,
Okay.
I think like one of the best things you could do for IB tests is use the mock exams. Use past exams, like use all the exam papers. IBdocuments.com, I think that's the name of the website, has like every single exam paper ever published in any like category. And they have like all the textbooks, they have like revision guides. Basically anything you could ask for under the sun for IB is on that website. So like use it.
The thing is, when I was looking through it in May, it said that it wasn't available because that would be when the IB testing season is. So if you do use that website, you should download all of the resources you want and need beforehand.
Yes.
So that when May comes, you have that with you and it's not unavailable because the website takes it down once IB exam season starts.
Yeah, use past papers, look for patterns. There's so many patterns in any test, like whether that's AP or IB, there's so many patterns in like both types of tests. So just make sure you're aware of those patterns and like get ready for it. Because I was dumb and I didn't really study stats for math SL, even though I knew they always asked a stats question and like that was with a lot of marks. So when I took that test, I had no clue what stats was, and it was blank at the end of that test. And it was not good. It was not good.
No one took any HL tests, right? Just an SL? Okay. Well, what I was going to use to prepare for it, like if it wasn't for the coronavirus this year, was that throughout the past 2 years, I've gathered all of my resources, like all the handouts and assignments and worksheets that were given to me by my HL teachers. I gathered them all and put it into a binder and classified each binder according to the subject. So that way that by the end of my senior year and by the time that the IBHL test comes around, I have that binder and I have all the information from the past 2 years of all of the HL classes for me to study and to just look over, just in case I missed anything. But I didn't really get to use it this year because IB exams were canceled. But that's just a good idea, or just a good thing to do if you do take it.
Yeah, being organized is very crucial in ideas, like in general, but especially when it comes to tests. And you can definitely, like, you can be very easily overwhelmed if it's like, if you're not organized. So like, just don't have that frame of mind of like where everything is, or like spacing out your time. And for me, like, one thing I would say, like, I would change like to my study habits was to work smarter, not harder. Because like when you're on a time crunch and when there's so many things that you need to do, like it's like yeah, it's really important to like gauge and know like what your limits are.
Akshay, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You want to ask the next question?
Yeah. So would you guys do you guys have any comments for like classes like TOK and things like CAS? Just like anything in general for those things?
Take TOK seriously. Take it seriously. Legitimately take it seriously. Because it will help you. It will legitimately help you with your points, because
it contributes.
It contributes. If you get a good TOK score and a good EE score, it can really help you get past the 30 marks. Because if you're going to like a UC, for instance, and you get past the 30 marks, that's really good for you in terms of the credits you get. So like, take TOK seriously. The EE may not be so much under your control since it's graded by IB, but you have the presentation under your control, and you basically have the essay under your control. So take it seriously and legitimately try, because it's an easy way to score marks or score points. And if you don't take it seriously, it's an easy way to lose marks and lose points.
Yeah, like for me at least, I identify as an introvert, and I thought that, like, you know, if we're a class like TOK where it's mainly discussion based every single day, and I'm pretty sure that just had to do with like the instructor we had, but you know, it was like discussion every day, and I didn't really feel comfortable talking in front of the class, or like comfortable in like a huge setting with like probably 30 students, or even 20. And like for me, it was just like intimidating to like say my own opinion or like voice what I actually think. Like, I know it's intimidating for me, but like since TOK is like graded from IB, like mainly for the presentation and the essay, that's where I felt like I could truly thrive in that class, especially since there was just 2 assignments, and I could just ask the instructor like individually like what, like on advice, or like what I thought about certain things. So I would say that like even IB as a whole, it's like the whole, like I feel like people think that it's just for extroverts, or like extroverts will thrive because of discussion, but I feel like you can still thrive, and like if your learning style is just different. So yeah, in that aspect of TOK, that's what I'd say to like people who are different learners.
For CAS, honestly, I think the only thing you really comment about CAS is just don't procrastinate on it. Because I realized, we had a lot of meetings over the year, but year and a half really we did CAS for. But I think most of us procrastinated until like the last couple of months, honestly. And it was a lot of, it's kind of hectic at that point, because you have 18 months to do really not that much like work, actually, if you just divide it up a little bit. so once you're approaching like say December of your senior year, right? You have like 3 months left, and it's at that point I feel like you should have at least have gotten through most of your CAS activities, because once you because like we said earlier, it's during your college application season, and this is pretty much right after the whole IA hectic time and all that. So this is probably the best time to complete CAS, if not done earlier. And if you wait any longer than say like December to get started on it, you really do run into time problems.
In terms of TOK, I think I also identify as an introvert, but I think that it gets easier to participate in class discussions as time goes on, because that's when you like get to know more people in the classroom and grow a bit more comfortable talking in front of those people. So I think you should try your best to engage in conversation, even if it's not with the entire class, maybe just like those around you. That would be a good starting point.
Yeah, for CAS also, like definitely just knock it out as early as possible. I finished almost all of my CAS by December of senior year, really. So I only had like a couple of reflections to do like at the very last minute, but it was just a couple, and reflections don't take too long. And like the important thing to remember with CAS is that basically anything counts as CAS. You're walking your dog, great. Extend it by like a quarter of a mile every week. You're walking 10,000 steps every day, great. That's CAS for activity too. You're like doing some random art project, that's CAS. You're learning how to cook, that's CAS. You're writing, that's CAS. Anything is literally CAS. We once asked like our advisor if like making memes counts as CAS, and they were like, theoretically, if you use that as like a form of like artistic expression and you can justify it, yeah, that's CAS. Literally anything is CAS, so use that to your advantage and just try to have fun with it. And when it comes to the CAS project, like knock it out as soon as possible. The sooner you knock it out, the better. Mine was done December of junior year, so I had like no worry about that. Whereas other people were like, I haven't done my CAS project in February. And that's when you run into like the big problems.
Also make sure you take a lot of pictures as well, because you need evidence once you submit your CAS hours. And I think that's what people kind of have trouble doing the most, because like after doing everything and finishing CAS, they realize that they have no proof of what they've done besides a signature. So make sure you take a lot of pictures and videos, any proof of evidence.
Yeah, that doesn't just like not just pictures or videos, but also just like if you have journal entries or like, I don't know, anything. Like there's like this tab on the like on Manage Back where they can like, you can pretty much submit any like form of evidence. So it's pretty convenient. It's just up to like you to put in like, I don't know, a few minutes of your day to doing that.
Oh, I also have a piece of advice for the HODA IA. I'm pretty sure that Thomas would be checking in this summer like he does every summer. Make sure you respond to him and like submit the assignments that he makes you do, because they are really helpful in terms of keeping you on track and making sure that you find all of the research materials that you need for your IA.
Yeah, on that, like the annotated bibliography he has juniors do is so helpful, because once like the year starts, all you have to do is really write the IA, and you do not want to procrastinate on that IA. You don't have a lot of time to do it, and you're like stuck with a lot of things. So like Dow said, like do it. And also like Thomas is just like a nice guy in general, so he'll like always be open to like helping you out or doing or like as long as you show effort and that you're trying. So it's totally worth doing it. And with the IA, like since Dow brought it up too, that's another case of like the EE syndrome where you have to be super careful with your topic. Because if it's too broad, your IA is going to fall apart before you even begin. Because I know mine was really broad at first. And then as like I continued going through research, I realized that like this is just too big. And Dow and I talked about this last year too. Because it was too much. The analysis was not good. So Yeah, be careful with that.
I think at least half of the students of IB usually do bio, and in my experience, the easiest bio IA you could ever do is an experiment, just like the EE, because you know what you're doing, you know what your end goal is, you know, you have all of your research materials and everything. So I think an experiment is the best option, but you don't always have to do an experiment. You could also do like a simulation online, because I know Miss Trend, or I think Miss Rodriguez also covers it too. But you could also do a simulation or anything you want. I think the bio IA, in my personal opinion, was the easiest IA to write.
Since we're on IAs for a second, for the physics IA also, when you choose your topic, choose a topic that you're actually interested in and that's unique. Like, don't just go for like a cookie cutter topic, because that will go downhill really fast too. Because like when Mr. P gives you options, he'll usually give you like an area to focus on. So like for our year, for HL our year, I think it was something along the lines of like fluids or something, right? Yeah, it was fluids. And I know a lot of people did like random things with like fluids, like just like water viscosity and stuff like that. I did mine on like sound waves as a fluid, like and air as a fluid, and I had like a lot of fun with mine. And he really liked my topic and thought that it was unique because it tied back to me, because I used like music and like my violin to prove like something. So like when you're going with like experiments, choose one that's unique and that you like and that's actually like feasible. Don't just go with like a cookie cutter standard one, or like it A, doesn't look as good, and B, just gets boring and annoying real fast.
Yeah, for the IAs, and I guess in general for EE too, and like anything you write, like don't be afraid to get feedback, because that is part of the process of learning and like growing as a student. And like, I don't know, like for at least in high school, there's like this huge emphasis on getting the perfect score, like the best grade. But like really, for at least in HODA, like our HODA teacher basically made it to where like he would, and our psych teacher too, like I guess for the like all the IAs in general, like you would submit a first draft and then get feedback from it, and then like when you make revisions, like the teacher will change your grade depending on like what you changed, or like if they see improvement. So like don't necessarily aim for perfection, like I guess for anything, but like more so improvement and like seeing your growth throughout the years.
Yeah, and a lot of teachers give really good feedback for a lot of the IAs and stuff. Psychology gives great feedback, so does physics, so does HODA. So even if you get like, I think a lot of people get bad scores on the first draft of like the HODA and psychology IA, because there's a lot you have to do in them. But like after the feedback, it's smooth sailing.
You also really learn how to write when you do the IAs and your EE. Like not just writing gibberish, but like writing to make a point.
So for the last question, I just have like, what do you guys plan to do now? Like once you're done with high school, just like an ended question.
Like, where are we going for college?
Yeah, however you want to answer it.
Well, I'll go first. So, wait, hang on, let me adjust. So I am actually really excited because like where I committed was one of my first choices, and I'm wearing this sweatshirt right now. So I'm going to Scripps, and I'm really happy about that because I'm hoping to study Asian American Studies there and possibly minor in music. And like, I don't know, I feel like it's a really good school to like see like explore different things and see what really sticks out to me as like an interest. So I feel like that experience I had in IB was really good to prepare me for like the liberal arts field of Scripps. and like the environment as a whole, like being supportive and also like intellectually like searching for that intellectual curiosity and vitality.
Okay, I guess I'll go next. I'm going to UC San Diego, where I'll be majoring in general biology. And I think, I'm not sure if I'll be minoring, but I am thinking of minoring in a language. I'm not sure which language yet, but that's a possibility.
How is it going to be French?
No, definitely not. The horrors I went through with that. No.
Oh. So I don't have my sweatshirt on me right now. It's in my closet, and my closet's an avalanche right now. So I'm not opening that. But I do have the pennant. I will be going to Yale and double majoring in either mathematics as well as poli-sci. I'm not sure what field of mathematics I want to major in. I don't know if I'm doing applied yet or theoretical / pure math. I'll figure that out as I go eventually. So yeah, and I also went through the horrors of French, so I understand doubt, and I will not be doing that. I learned my lesson. Good luck, my friends. I pray for you in French. I truly do pray for you.
Oh yeah, going to UC Santa Barbara and doing electrical engineering with a double major in physics. Probably gonna specialize in like quantum, honestly, because it's kind of nice. Currently though, I realized there's like a unit limit actually, and I think I crossed that if I do double major. So I decided to be big brain, right, and do this accordingly. So doing like community college classes at the current moment go to my GEs, and it's fun, I guess. Not really. It's just like art and philosophy, but I would recommend taking a philosophy class. Actually, it's pretty interesting. The art classes, yeah, I don't know about that. That's kind of boring.
Are you taking it right now, the art class?
That's what I was doing. I was reading some assignment. Yeah.
What do you do?
So for one of my art classes, right, I need to basically they like assign readings to do each week on different like art styles and stuff, and then there's like a history of art we had to cover. So we're covering from like Gothic era to Renaissance era. It's pretty interesting. And the current assignment is to commentate on one art piece from the Museum of Bad Art. It's like a category for the MOBA Zoo. So I chose to commentate on a piece about like a chicken in a kitchen. And I don't really know what I'm trying to say. So like I was like, all right, so this chicken looks kind of angry. So I went on about like how, you know, this portrays the idea that people get angry in kitchens, and I explained how that ties back to what we learned. It was fun. I recommend doing it.
College classes are so wild. I'm also taking one right now, and it's about the environment. It's like a writing class, and it's like about the environment. And I've already submitted an essay that trashes capitalism and is like, woo, let's go AOC, even though like I don't even know anymore. All I know is that after one college class at this point, I support the Green New Deal.
Yeah, I'm also taking an English class on human rights, and yeah, I would say that like this does not even equate to high school experience at all. My teacher or my professor literally said, "Oh, you could like you're gonna be given the chance to choose what your grade is, and like it's gonna be really chill, and like grades like she's like I don't believe in grades." So it's just like, okay, this is a huge contrast to high school.
My professor, I wrote it down. I have so many of his quotes because he's just like an insane dude. He said, I'm not saying that you're all gonna get the grade that you want to have, but I'm just saying I have the power to give you the best grade possible. And mathematically, there is no way that you're gonna get a grade that you're not gonna like. And then as soon as he said that, he immediately followed up by saying, I don't believe in grades. I think grades are useless. I think admin failed. I'm going to give you all good grades. And all of us are just like, all right, this is pretty chill. This is the vibe. Also, if you have Glavin for English, all of his scholarly articles he makes you read are going to prepare you so well for anything you will ever read in college. Because I had to like annotate like a 50-page document about like climate change and the history of it. And a lot of people I know were like, what is a scholarly article? I hate this. And I'm like, Mr. Glavin, you got my back.
Oh, to add on to that, I think IB really prepares you for college in terms of scholarly articles, like Abarka mentioned, because you actually learn how to read and interpret scholarly articles during your IB classes. Like, it's not just in English, it's also in bio and HODA as well. So I think you would really benefit from the program.
Yeah. Also writing or like reading for an argument and like understanding what arguments people are making and like going off of that into like your own synthesis. IB teaches you that so well with all the stuff you have to do for it. So like the first essay I had to write, it was really easy because it was just literally read an article and write like a paper on what like they were arguing for and whether like you can find support or like either support or things that contradict that argument. Which IB is that's literally what IB is in so many papers.
Hey, Rourke, for your chicken in the kitchen commentary, you should mention how ironic it is that a chicken is in the kitchen, because that's where they usually go to die.
Yeah, it's funny too, because in the background, right, there's like a cooked chicken, and like this chicken is looking at the cooked chicken, I think, but you can't really tell because perspective-wise, and also thinking the seats are kind of small though, and the chicken is kind of like huge. He's sitting on two legs, right? So like he has like a humanoid body looking thing. So I'm just curious as how like he sits down and does he eat chickens? Because if he does,
you should mention the irony in that though.
Interesting.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I'll do
like
so.
when like this is like when Porky Pig in like that one episode of like what I don't even know what they're called anymore. Like Bugs Bunny and them. It's like when he was in the kitchen cooking bacon in one episode, and I was like. This is so ironic and morbid.
But wait, did he eat the bacon?
Yeah, he ate the bacon!
That's cannibalism.
He ate the bacon! It's like Rourke's chicken eating chicken. Also, in case none of you can tell, we're like dead like high school graduates who are like losing their sanity a little bit after quarantine, which is why we've hijacked Akshay's Zoom call with chickens.
This is gonna be great content for the YouTube.
So
yeah, that's all my questions, guys. Thank you.
Yay!
yay!
Yay.
Thank you, Akshay.
Thank you, guys.
That was
Thank
really
you guys for
fun.
showing up.
It was fun.
Yeah, a good like
That was
therapeutic and reflective experience.
Oh, you should stop recording because this is not relevant at all to anything.
Wait. What happens if it doesn't save video?
Huh?
I will
say. We'll
Has
say.
anyone else recorded a video before on Zoom?
No.
No?
Dude, I don't even use Zoom that often.
Right, how do you Zoom?
It's
So
like
much.
Alright then.
3 times.
So I'm gonna press stop recording.